I got 4 o'clock. Is that, no? Everybody got 4 o'clock? Okay. All right, it is 4 o'clock. I don't think that clock's a little slow up there. And I'm going to call the meeting to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could stand. Trustee Magnata is going to lead us in the pledge.
Everybody join us in honoring our flag in America.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee Magnata. Item B on our agenda is approval of a flexible agenda.
Move to approve a flexible agenda.
All right.
Second that.
Okay, a motion was made to approve. It was seconded by Trustee Kangas. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Number 2 is consent items. Does anyone have anything that they want to pull off the consent, or do we want to go ahead and approve it? Make a motion to approve. Okay, I need a second.
Second it.
Okay, motion made, seconded by Trustee Jackson. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say no. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. I went to lick my finger, hit myself in the face. All righty. Next item on our agenda is the election of officers for the 2022 school year. Discussion and possible action. Sorry. What I'd like to do is to go over the process, since it's been a whole year since we've done it. How this will work is we'll open the floor to nominations, and anyone can make a nomination. There is no second needed. We'll start the nomination process by first nominating and electing a president. Then we'll move on to the vice president and then on to the clerk. You also need to know that you can nominate yourself if you want to. Also, if you are nominated, you can go ahead and decline as well. There is no motion needed to close the nomination for each officer. And does anyone have any questions about anything about election of officers? Seeing none. Nominations are now in order for the office of president.
Madam Chairman, I move to make a motion.
It's not
the president.
It's not just a nomination.
Just
Just
a
a
nomination.
nomination, yep.
I'm sorry, could you?
Make a nomination for you to remain as president for the year.
Okay, go ahead. A nomination was made for Linda Gilkerson for president. Okay,
I will second that nomination.
okay. Doesn't need to be second, but thank you for the vote of confidence. Are there any further nominations for president? One more time, are there any further nominations for president? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say for Linda Gilkerson. Linda Gilkerson has been nominated for president. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Okay, motion passes 6-0. We have our president, once again, Linda Gilkerson. Thank you very much. Next office we're going to vote for is nominations are now in order for the office of vice president. Would anyone like to make a nomination for vice president?
I'll nominate Carrie Kangas to remain as vice president.
Okay, nomination was made. Are there any other nominations for vice president? For the office of vice president, okay. So Carrie Kangas has been nominated for the office of vice president. Are there any further nominations for vice president? Seeing none, we'll move on to vote. All those in favor for nominating voting for Carrie Kangas to stay vice president, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Carrie Kangas is our vice president for the year 2022, 6-0. Thank you. Did you say something? I'm sorry, hearing things. I only have one ear, sorry. I can't hear, so I'm just hearing things. Okay, next we're going to go to clerk. So nominations are now on the floor in order for the office of clerk. Would anyone like to nominate someone for clerk or nominate themselves?
I'd like to nominate trustee Chichester to remain as our clerk.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Not necessary, but that's a nice vote of confidence. Trustee Chichester has been nominated for clerk. Is there any other further nominations for clerk? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor to vote for trustee Chichester as clerk for the 2022 school year, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Congratulations to our officers once again. So just to repeat, we have Linda Gilkerson as president. Sorry, Carrie Kangas as vice president, and trustee Ross Chichester as clerk. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to, what are we moving on to? The annual organization. This is a three-part. The first part is part A, where we approve membership in different things. And this is the membership for the Nevada Association of School Boards, also known as NASB. Trustee Lehman is not here. He will be here at 5:30, and he has asked me to pull this and put it on after our public comment at 5:30. He would like to have discussion about it. So we will go ahead and do that. B is the Record Courier is the newspaper to be utilized for all legally required notices. Okay, so we have to have a discussion. Is there any discussion on this? And possible action?
Move to designate the Record Courier as the newspaper to be utilized for all legally required notices.
Okay, motion was made.
I'll
Second by trustee Engelkirk. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. The next one is item C. And this is to designate regular meetings of the Board of Trustees to be held on the second Tuesday of each month at 4 o'clock at either a valley location or a lake location, unless otherwise announced as follows. You have a list of all the dates. There has been a change to one of them, and that is in February. Oh, it's not changed? It's not, wasn't a change. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I take that back. Blah, blah, blah. I removed that. Okay. So anyways, we have the list below us, and it shows where we go up to the lake in April and also in November. Okay. So yeah, so would anyone like to make a motion to accept the dates?
I'll make a motion to accept the regular scheduled board meeting dates for the
Okay.
following.
The ones
Year.
listed. Okay, anyone second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any public comment? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring it to a vote. All those in favors to accept the dates that are listed, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? It passes 6-0. Thank you. Next, we have appointment of board representatives on committees for the 2022 school year. I need my list, sorry.
There's an article, more than 150 comparative studies and articles on mass ineffectiveness and harms. Brian will take care of it. The emperor has no
Thank you.
son.
We're going to continue on. We're going to, excuse me, you're out of order. You're out of order, sir. You are out of order, sir. I'm sorry. Where's John? Hush, Sheriff. Why aren't they here? Thank you. Anyways, we're going to move on. We are going to move on. Oh. Anyways, we're going to move on. Interrupting our meeting. Okay, so now we're going to move on to important business, which is appointing of board representatives on our committees for 2022. We have lists here. One of the things I wanted to mention before we go ahead and decide what we want to do with this is that any of us at any time can basically attend any of these meetings. Okay, it's just we can't go over the 3 limit board member. So if there's something on here and you're interested and maybe you're not chosen, but you don't whatever, but there's something that comes up and you might decide, oh, I'd like to go do that. As long as there's not going to be an open meeting law violation, you're allowed to attend. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to open it up to discussion here. You have the list in front of you. I'll start with the first one. Should I just go through? Would you like me just to go through each of them or?
That's what we usually.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that
The
then.
person wants to continue or. if they-
Okay, perfect. Oh, I did want to say something, not that it's, well, I'll just let it go. Okay, let's go ahead and Debt Management Commission. Ross, I know you were on that, and this is your last year on the board.
Right. I'd love to stay on it. I am the chairman of the Debt Management Commission and I'd like to finish it up.
All right, perfect. Is anyone else interested in that? If not, we'll just continue with you. Okay. The Board of Directors, NASB. I know I'm on it. I'm willing to share it, Heather, if you'd like to do it.
I'd be willing to be a part of that one.
Oh,
I'd be
great.
willing to.
Okay. I'll tell you what, we'll put you on as the director and I'll be an alternate.
Okay.
Okay? Unless anyone else wants it. Okay. Next is the Parks and Rec Board. I'm going to go ahead and I talked with Rob about that, and I'm going to go ahead and be the person that will attend, and he'll be the alternate. Unless anyone else wants it. We'll move right down to the Planning Commission. It says the board president, vice president. I believe that's the way it's supposed to be, or the way it is. So we'll move on from there. School Safety Task Force. I'd like to also remove myself from there. I know, Carrie, you're still interested, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and I think Trustee Lehman was interested in this. He had expressed an interest. Is there anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead and put Rob on that one. Both at the 2 people attend. Yes, and again, remember that if anybody else wants to attend at some point, you can always do that. Expulsion hearings, we have everyone. Some of us more than others. Employee Relations Communications. Rob is on and I'm an alternate, and we can keep it that way unless somebody else wants to. Liaison to Family Involvement, the DPAC. We have Doug and Carrie. Are you still wanting to serve on those committees?
I do.
Okay, Doug, how about you? Sorry?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We'll keep that. The Tahoe Douglas Chamber. Are you good with that, Doug? Thank you. Appreciate it. The Carson Valley Chamber of Commerce. Rob will continue on that unless somebody wants to. I told him I would be his backup or an alternate unless somebody else wants to. And then the Career and Technical. Trustee Magnotta, you're on that. Did you want to continue?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I would like to be on that as an alternate or
You can
as a
also,
member.
okay, we can put you on there too. Thank you. The Gifted and Talented is discontinued, correct? Okay. Legislative Liaison, and this is for the president and the vice president. The Construction Maintenance Subcommittee, we have Trustee Magnotta, Engelkirk, and Chichester.
That's fine.
Are you 3 willing to stay on that? Thank you very much. And then the Grading Committee, we have Trustee Engelkirk, Trustee Jackson, and Trustee Lehman. Are you, okay, perfect. All right, well, there we go. That was easy. Thanks, guys. So would someone like to make a recommendation? I think we
We
need one.
recommend we approve the appointment of board representatives.
Thank you. Would anyone like to?
Second.
And second, thank you, trustee Chichester. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and take a vote. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion passes 6-0. Well, that was painless. Okay, Nevada Association of School Boards report. I don't have anything. Did you have any? I know Heather, you did attend that and you talked about it, but I wasn't sure if there was anything more, a follow-up.
We did write up a report that they sent out to all the presidents to let them know what had been discussed and everything.
Right.
So I did do that, but that was.
Okay,
not all the time.
thank you. All right, we'll move on to board reports. I know December was, I don't know what everybody did in December. I know I wasn't here most of the month. Does anyone on the board, any trustees have anything they'd like to, that they did in regards to being a school board member, Heather?
We had a grading committee meeting, and those have been going really well. We've had a lot of really good discussions. We sent out a survey to all of the secondary teachers and got some great feedback on what they're doing right now in the classrooms and concerns and questions they had, or ideas they had. We've looked at a lot of other districts and we're continuing to talk through and figure out what, how we can kind of build a framework for how we want grading to go forward and keep it consistent in the Valley. So it's been going really well.
Awesome. Anyone else? Doug, do you have anything to report?
I was regrettably detained and I didn't make the last meeting.
It
last
happens.
minute Emergency.
That's okay. Anyone else? Trustee Magnata? Nothing? Okay, we'll move on then. Next is is correspondence. Does anyone have anything that received in correspondence that they want to share with the rest of the group?
I received emails from Doria Shoemaker about the later start times for the high school.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good news is me, and I have to really thank Rami for this. As I said, I was gone almost the entire month of December. I have my own good news, but it's not what you'd want to hear. So the good news for tonight is about one of our students. There was an Energy Smart infographic PSA contest that was held by the Desert Research Institute. And one of our middle school students at Carson Valley Middle School received a second place award. Her name is, I think it's Ava, A-Y-V-A. I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but Ava Gunter. And so congratulations to her. And if you're interested, you can go online and look at the Desert Research. And boy, the things these young people have done are amazing. So congratulations to her. We'll give her a shout out tonight. And thanks again, Rami. Item number 10 is our maintenance and project report. Are we doing that? Are we? Okay, thank you. All right, well, we're going to move right on to you then, Superintendent Lewis. Your report. Thank you.
Saved, I will fill it up. So just as I always do, I want to start off acknowledging donations that the district has received. The Pull Bob Motorcycle Club donated $200 in school supplies to the Dcsd School Nutrition Program. Matthew Gagliardo donated $10,000 to CC Manili Elementary School. And the Carson Valley Basketball Association donated $1,000 each to the boys and girls basketball programs at Douglas High School. Karen sent you an email reminder, but if you have not seen that email, I just want to remind each of you that your annual financial disclosure report is due on January 15th to make sure that you get that done. If you need any assistance, just reach out to us so we can help you get logged. We'll help you get logged in. We won't help you. Yeah. So what'd you say?
I said you got to do the C&E report too.
Right,
Yes.
both.
Yeah, there's two reports.
Yep. Enrollment, Douglas County's enrollment counts through January reflect an enrollment of 5,375, which is a down approximately 27 from the December reporting and about 89 down from where we were in December of 2021. Since our last meeting in December, we held a communications meeting last Wednesday with the staff at CC Manili Elementary School. Tomorrow, we will be meeting with the staffs at Jacks Valley Elementary and Aspire Academy High School. My staff and I will be hosting a virtual town hall meeting on Thursday, this Thursday, January 13th from 6 to 7:30. We are hosting the town hall to provide parents the opportunity to actively communicate with district staff. These have been rather successful in the past. The link to join the meeting has been sent to all DCSD families today and is posted on the district website and our Facebook page as well. As part of the ARP ESSER funding, the district is required to review and update as appropriate our safe return to in-person instruction plan every 6 months. As a result, we are in the process of surveying students, staff, and parents to gather input on our plan. The survey is set to close tomorrow evening, and we will then review the input to determine if changes are necessary. The plan is available on the district's website and will be updated as changes are made. And so that'll occur about every six months through the end of 2024. As of last night, Douglas County School District has had 409 COVID cases based on the different tests out there. This time last month, we had about 283 COVID cases. So we are seeing quite an uptick coming out of the break. We currently have 55 active cases with 28 at the elementary, 8 at the middle school, 18 at the high school, and 1 involving individuals that are considered district-wide. The CDC recently released new guidance related to isolation and quarantine, which has been adopted by the state and local health officials. A general summary of the change is the reduction of the 10-day isolation quarantine period to 5 days, with the requirement that a student wear a mask upon their return through the 10th day. So obviously this is good news for us in terms of the number of days students have been missing. When they become close contacts, their time out of school will not be as lengthy. So that's good news. The new guidance has been added to the safe return to the in-person instruction plan, and I've communicated that as well to all families and staff yesterday. As I notified the board last night, we were forced to close Zephyr Cove Elementary School today due to a significant outbreak of COVID within the staff. I'd like to commend our Lake School administrators, Mark Walling and Kelly Winter, as well as the entire Zephyr Cove Elementary staff for being willing and able to provide virtual learning to their students through at least the rest of the week. I continue to say never to question the commitment of our district employees to their students. As well, some of them are not feeling great. They choose to be available to their students to ensure learning continues. And it's our hope and expectation that we'll return to in-person learning at Zephyr Cove on Tuesday, January 18th, following the Martin Luther King holiday. While we obviously believe very strongly in the importance of in-person learning, obviously we use this as a means to make sure that we're ready district-wide with Chromebooks in hand, so that if we do have to pivot, we can do so quickly. And again, I think it shows that a lot of stuff is put in place beforehand, that we're only out one day and we can pick up learning tomorrow virtually. So I'm proud of them. The Douglas County School District, with the assistance of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, volunteered to implement the state-of-the-art open gate weapons detection system as a proactive response to the numerous and tragic school mass casualty incidents and recent upward trends with guns being found in schools in Nevada and across the country. Open Gate is a groundbreaking weapons detection system designed to create a high level of school safety by keeping weapons off school property. The system screens individuals entering school property, including backpacks and bags, for firearms and other mass casualty metal threats, while providing a near zero alarm rate on personal non-threat items. And I think that's the big key, is the system is designed to find weapons, mass casualty weapons. It's not designed to find vape pens or Swiss Army knives. It is the density of the metal and the quantity of the metal that would activate the system. So it's not gonna, we're not using it to find prohibited items, just mass casualty items. Open Gates non-intrusive design also provides a high transit rate by allowing individuals to keep their bags while passing the system, eliminating delay associated with screening bags separately. The system is portable, which will provide the district the opportunity to use it at multiple buildings, sporting events, meetings, and other school-related functions. When the system is in use, students, faculty, and guests will be screened upon entering school premises, with secondary screenings conducted when the system is activated. For DCSD policy, secondary screenings will be conducted by site administration on students, and a school resource officer will be present whenever the system is utilized. So the way it would work is we could even have any employee would monitor students. If the system is activated, they would be moved to a secondary screening area where an administrator would conduct more thorough search. And then, of course, if anything was found, the school resource officer would be present to act immediately. So again, we've worked with this through Sheriff Coverly and the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. He's done the research on the system as well as and is in agreement. It would be a nice system to have, and they fully support the implementation of that. While we will be training district administrators and some other staff members on January 18th at 1:30 in the DHS Media Center. I would certainly invite board members to attend the training if you're interested. We are also working with our partners to develop a press release to make our families and community aware. DCSD will be the first school district in Nevada to implement Open Gates weapon detection system. And as I just noticed, Sheriff Coverly has written a letter in support of the system. This enhanced school safety measure is being funded in large part by Pool Pact Risk Management Grant. And a demonstration of the system will take place on Wednesday, January 19th at 8:30 a.m. at Douglas High School for any parent or community member that is interested in seeing the system. So before we go live, we want to, we'll make it available if anyone in the community wants to come see it in action. We'll do so on the 19th. And then it will, then we'll begin implementation. So district level and site administrators, social workers, counselors, and school psychologists all participated in a threat assessment training yesterday, which was provided by the Nevada Department of Education. We're working hard as a district to ensure our systems are updated and we have teams ready to determine the severity of any threat we may receive and to act appropriately to ensure not only the safety of our schools, but supporting the students who this might be a act crying out for help. So we're looking forward to tightening those systems up and really having a formal threat assessment process. I'm pleased to let you know that our Executive Director of Human Resources, Joe Gerdner, has done a great job of calculating next year's projected enrollment and determining projected staffing for the 2022-23 school year. In the coming days, Joe will be notifying site administrators of their staffing numbers, which will allow them to begin working on creating next year's master schedules. This will also allow us to get ahead of hiring for next year. We'll be well ahead of the game. And as requested by the board, Mr. Gerdner will provide a presentation on our hiring and recruiting efforts during next month's February meeting for you. And then finally, as you may have noticed on the personnel page in your consent agenda item, we will have 2 retirements from within my executive staff at the district office. The Executive Director of Education Services, Melissa Rains, will be retiring effective January 21st. And Executive Director of Grants Assessments and Progress Monitoring, Mr. Brian Frazier, has announced that his retirement will be effective June 30th, 2022. As we move forward, I'll be restructuring the Education Services Department to include an Executive Director, which is currently Rami Cronin Mack, and an Assistant Director rather than 2 Executive Directors. Also, we will be looking to fill Brian's position with an Executive Director, and we're working on updating the job description before posting. Brian's been in that position for a while, and the job has evolved, and certainly the job description needs to be updated to ensure it's accurate. So that's my report. Any questions?
I have a couple. Okay. I'm impressed at how quickly you guys were able to get Zephyr Cove into virtual learning and taking care of that. I've heard from other areas that a lot of schools are having a lot of teachers, that are getting sick and they're not able to keep it staffed. Is the rest of Douglas County or the rest of the schools ready if they need to go virtual? Would they be ready for that?
Yes, I believe they are. And John has done a great job. Our media techs, of which we have a lot, and librarians, we have a lot with us tonight, have done an outstanding job at the very beginning of the year to get Chromebooks in the hands of our students to take home. And so those have all been distributed. Where we run into a few issues if kids are new and we've not yet had the time to do that. And so we're talking just a handful at Woodtell, and we have them available for pickup. So we'll be ready there. 2 requirements by the state is number 1, that all students have electronic devices. And number 2 is that we are able to provide food. And so again, I should have noted school nutrition as well, that they're quick to be able to provide meals that can be picked up. And so they'll offer meal service on Wednesday and Thursday. When students pick up meals on Thursday, they'll also get their meal for Friday at the same time. So we'll be able to feed students in that capacity as well. So we are ready across the district.
I did have one other question. Just you talked about the staffing numbers and you kind of figured that out. So I was just wondering, how is it looking at our schools? Are we going to be looking for more teachers? Are we going to be trying to get, not have enough room for all of them? What is that looking
It's
at?
looking pretty status quo. So
Okay.
one thing I can tell you is
The mask mandate is BS. This is not how, you're not a hospital. Those masks are not medical devices. I will die on my feet before I live on my knees. Wake up, America. I'm going. Go ahead. Go on. Keep going.
it looks like projections are going to hold pretty steady. So
Okay.
initial looks at it.
Thanks.
Anything else? Does anyone else have any questions for Superintendent Lewis or comments? Trustee Magnata, you need a mic, honey. Yeah, there you go.
On our enrollment, that it's down 89 from last year, how does that affect our budget?
Well, that's actually somewhat to be determined. With the hold harmless, we were given a certain amount. They really have still not answered a whole lot of questions on what happens when enrollment goes up and down from their projection. So this number is a little bit lower than what their projection. So we would anticipate at the end of the year, Tony, that there would be an adjustment down based on what our overall enrollment has been. And on enrollment, I'm just going to use the opportunity. There's a lot of confusion on how schools are funded, and there's a belief that we're funded on how many kids show up on a daily basis. We're funded on our enrollment. So if a student is enrolled, that is what is the mechanism, not whether they come every day. And obviously we want our kids coming every day, right? And if they don't show up for 10 days and we don't know where they are, we would drop them. But it's your enrollment on average across the school year that determines school funding. So that does have an impact, obviously, being down a little bit. But we're still doing well from like what our projections were. Our projections internally, Tony, we are almost spot on that. So our formulas tend to work. I didn't create them. It takes sometimes we have to reteach ourselves, and Mr. Gerdner's getting to learn the lovely formulas of how, because what we do also is we look at, what has happened in a grade level and at a school on a 4-year average. And so we factor in, your enrollment may be 80, but over the last 4 years, it's declined. As they went from first to second, it declined on average 4%. And we factor that in how we create projections. So quite a little science.
Okay. Anyone else? If not, we'll move on.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you.
Superintendent Lewis.
Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to move on to item number 12, which is our school board redistricting. Good evening.
Thank you for having me back.
Can you go ahead and state your name
so-
for the record? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
we'll get
Amy
it on there.
Bergens, Douglas County Clerk Treasurer
Thank
for the
you, Amy.
record. I should know that. It's been a long day. So I am back because last month I came before you with 3 proposed maps for redistricting the school district in order to, because the 2020 census numbers came out and we needed to redo the population within the districts. You guys selected a map, and tonight I am bringing before you a resolution that takes that map and for the purpose of the school district and the school board trustees implements that map, and I will take that resolution before the Board of County Commissioners for them to properly adopt it into the county on February 3rd. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions for Amy?
Ready to make a motion.
Okay, we're going to move forward then. Go ahead.
Okay, I move that the Board of Trustees approve Resolution 22.01, changing the boundaries of the Douglas County School District Trustees areas as set forth in Exhibit A.
Okay, a motion was made. Does someone like to second it?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you, trustee Kangas. Is there any, before we vote, is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you
Amy.
so much.
Okay, item 13 is our CTE program update. It's just an informational information from Cade Balagad about the Career and Technical Education Program. We're glad to have you tonight.
We'll pull up your presentation here, Kate.
Okay. All right. Hi, my name is Cade Balagad. I'm the Career and Tech Ed Administrator for Douglas County School District, and it's my honor and pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for putting me on the agenda and listening to what I have to say tonight. I've only been on the job for 5 months, so if there are a couple things that I don't know off the top of my head, I will gladly research them for you and find out. That's been part of one of the funnest things of my job is the learning that I've been able to do and support I've been able to offer. Right off the bat, you can see how many career and tech ed students we have in the district. You can see the lion's share of them are at Douglas High School. And if you hear me say CTE, obviously it's career and tech ed for short. And I've just done CTE for so long that it's second nature for me to call it CTE. So that's where we're at. All right, so for those of you that are not familiar with career and tech ed, it helps prepare our students for a world of work. We focus primarily on two different things. One is a job-specific skill, and the other one is an employability skill. The job-specific skill, I think, is pretty much self-explanatory. It gets kids the skill set to go out and get an entry-level job in whatever their vocation is. The other piece is the employability skills piece, and that's more of the soft skills. That's more of how to interview, how to build a resume, how to build interpersonal skills and things along those lines. Next up is our recruitment and retention. Some things have changed from the state. The state has moved from a 3-year model to a 2-year model. As a result, we've had to rethink our district mindset from moving from electives to programs. And the programs would require a 2 to 3 year commitment on the student's behalf. We've communicated this out to middle school, high school counselors, teachers, administrators, and are in the process of getting this out to parents as well as students. There will be a piece that I'll speak to a little bit later about how we're addressing it for both of those. Once a student becomes an enrolled CTE student, they complete their program of study and maintain a 3.0 GPA, a student can take a test from the state, which earns them a certificate to help make them more marketable as they enter the workforce. Historically speaking, Douglas County's career and tech ed has done extremely well, especially when compared to the rest of the state. And I'm particularly proud to inherit that. And my hope is to move that forward and expand it out as best we can. Yes, sir.
Is the 3.0 in lieu of the test?
No, that's a qualifying grade point average, and that grade point average has to be in their career and tech ed classes. It's not
Okay.
overall. Obviously, we'd like to see it overall, and I think career and tech ed would help support having a student that has a high GPA, but it's 3.0 in their career and tech ed student that qualifies them to take the exam. All right, moving on to what we've done as a department for EPIC. Obviously, I can see on the Chromebooks of everybody in here, EPIC's a big thing in Douglas County. So one of the things that I focused on as a leader for career and tech ed is I focused on our instructional model. Specifically, I focused on the positive culture with an emphasis on connections. One of the first things I did as a department is I introduced myself to the department much in the same way that I did during our Epic Learning Forum. And the goal was to break down those barriers and make connections with the people that I'm leading and supervising, so they see me as a person and help make connections on a human level. So that way we can move wherever they're at forward, and they know that they've got support from me as their administrator. Part of our process of moving Epic forward is that we developed our own CTE vision for Douglas County School District. And if you look up there, the hair on my arm stand up because it's a pretty doggone powerful statement. If you look at it, you can see that we as a department all believe we come to work to have an impact on students by setting them up to be self-sufficient, employed, develop pride in their vocation, raise a family if they so choose, and this is my favorite part, to live the American dream. I know it sounds trite and I know it sounds trivial, but that's pretty doggone important to us as a department. And I'm glad to see that it came shining through in our vision. Here are the programs that we offer now as a district. You can see automotive, culinary, digital game development, computer science, multimedia communications, metalworking, which is transitioning into welding, biomedical, JROTC, which is moving into military science, engineering, agriculture, computer manufacturing, business, and we are phasing out graphic design. Where are we going? We as a department have formed a lot of partnerships with everybody that'll partner with us. One of the particular things that I'm really proud of is that we've expanded into Pawalu and CVMS again. And when I say again, I'll explain the 8th grade after school program in a minute. We've also formed partnerships with Wattell High School and Aspire. We're looking at expanding out COE and internships to their students so that way they have more experience or more opportunities to partake in CTE. Additionally, we're partnering with elementary schools across the district again. And we're really excited about it. And I'll talk more about that too in a minute. And then who are we working with? We're working with everybody, doggone it. And we're really excited about this. We're working obviously with principals, teachers. One thing that I'm particularly proud of is that we've partnered with the Chamber of Commerce. So for those of you that know Alicia Main over at the Chamber, we've formed a partnership where we're putting on a career and college day here at the Media Center on March 23rd. I'm in charge of pulling like all the academic pieces together, and she's in charge of pulling all of the business and industry together. And I think it's a unique partnership, and we're proud of that. We're both serving the end goal of getting kids jobs, and we're both working together as two separate entities. In addition to that, we're working with business and industry, elementary schools, middle schools, and any other stakeholder that wants to get involved. I already spoke a little bit about this. If you look at this, this is done on purpose. We are doing a spring career/college day, which equals a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce and CTE. The idea is that we have an emphasis on local business and local employment opportunities. The thought is that as they come and they do their presentation, we'll also have colleges there too. But as the businesses come and showcase their employment opportunities, they show the students that, hey, look, if you're a high school kid and you're looking for employment right out of high school, this is what we pay and these are the requirements. And then they're also going to have like maybe an associate's degree level job, a bachelor's degree level job, and so on and so forth. But the point to that is to showcase to our kids that there's jobs right here in Douglas County, Nevada. And for our employers already know that if the kid's here and they have family here, the odds are really good that they're going to stay here and they're going to be good quality employees that help out the business in our community. Moving on to 5th grade, we've partnered already with Pinion Hills, Gardnerville, CC and Minden is not up there, but they have partnered with us. We are planning to have a 5th grade visitation day to showcase all of our CTE programs to 5th graders. And the thought behind that is it's never too early to show kids the quality work and options that we offer here at the high school level. And that's going to happen May 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And it's been something that we've reached out. Elementary school principals are like, yep, I'm on board. That's something good for kids and we're going to get them here. Something else that we're planning on doing too is using our vocational student organization to serve as guides for those 5th grade students. So the students see high school students and the high school students are explaining the programs as they go through. As we move on, I spoke a little bit about the 3.0 GPA. I want to expand on that. We have a new approach to how we're doing business when it comes to end of program exams. What we're doing is we're targeting interventions to improve our end of program pass rates. And our goal is to have 100% of the students that are in CTE pass, right? We're already head and shoulders above the state, but we want to do even better. So some of you know that I was an elementary school vice principal for 5 years. So what we've done is again, it's that whole partnership thing, drawing in on the people that we have as resources. And we have developed a pilot test-taking skills thing in metalworking. For some of you that are familiar with elementary curriculum, think Lucy Calkins meets welding, right? So what we've done is we've taken that Lucy Calkins approach of doing targeted interventions, doing stuff on purpose so kids have the skill set to do reading, but we've applied it to end of program exams. And I'm pretty doggone proud that Ryan Gonzalez, the welding metalworking instructor, has taken that on and piloted it. And obviously we'll see if it has positive results, which we anticipate this spring when they do their EOPs. Other things too is that we also have a test on employability skills. And then I'm all for supporting any of our teachers that are singletons to set up a Google Meet or some sort of Zoom meeting with anybody else in the state or in the nation that teaches something else that they do to help facilitate their learning and move things forward for kids. Something else that we've resurrected is the 8th grade after school program. Here are some numbers for you. We've had 3 weeks of programs. We've had 27 hours of instruction. 109 students participated, which I think is a pretty big thing. We had 9 programs of studies with 9 different teachers. Professionally speaking, wow, let me tell you, I have never dreamt of having so much support on so many different levels. Behind the scenes, there's a whole bunch of things that have to happen. And first and foremost is Mike Rex, the principal at Douglas High School, fully supported and funded the program. Next up is that the administrators at both middle schools just fully embraced the program with both arms, as well as the counselors at both middle schools. They were both actively involved. If you know her, KDM, send a shout out to her because she helped me put what I had together into 7th and 8th grade languageese to hook them in, to get them interested and involved. So there are a lot of people that had a lot of really heavy lifting behind the scene that made everything work really smoothly. And it was a great opportunity for kids to get involved in. Something else too is that Douglas High School teachers were able to meet the 8th grade students, obviously prior to them enrolling. One of the things that KDM came up with was students get to test drive their teachers before they buy them, right? So that's a beautiful thing when kids can see if the personality matches or the content matches before they enroll in it. And again, a lot of people had their hands in making this successful. Students connected with existing students at the high school, which might not sound like much on surface level, but just like us as adults, when we know somebody, when we go to a conference, it makes us going to that conference that much easier. And again, it goes back to the instructional model of forming those connections. These are things that we've done on purpose to help that transition from those 8th grade students into high school kids. And what we're trying to do is everything on purpose to make those connections so those students are more successful when they get here. Something else too is that, like I spoke about with our vocational student organization, students spoke with other students about the programs that were offered here. Agriculture with Mrs. Gates had some of her FFA students, which took on a bunch of leadership roles. And anytime you can get kids taking on leadership roles and teaching and talking to other kids is a beautiful thing, because it helps form those connections and those bonds, which are going to help kids be successful at this next level. Mr.
You're
Lewis,
doing
how am I
great,
doing
Cade.
time wise?
You're doing great.
All right. If you can't tell, this is one of my real big passions in life, and I could probably talk forever, but I know I need to get moving. The other thing too is that parents now know about some of the CTE offerings at Douglas High School because they had to pick them up after the programs. And for me, I'm always overly optimistic. I would like to think that even if a parent didn't have a kid that participated, they knew a parent that picked up one of their kids. And when they were at Starbucks, when they're at the grocery store, they're going to say, hey, look, my kid went to fill in the blank CTE program after school. And it started a dialogue in our community about kids going to school and finding success in places where they can find success. The last point that I want to make is that I did run into a parent after this. And she said, it was hysterical because she goes up to me, she goes, thank you very much, Mr. Ballagad. And I'm like, well, for what? And she's like, my kid now wants to raise cattle in our front yard, right? As an 8th grader, a kid knows what they want to do, and think about the impact on that. And then the funniest part is that they live in the ranchos. So if you see cattle in the ranchos, now you know why, is because Miss Gates killed it, and that student made a connection here at Douglas High School with a teacher. And that's going to be the fundamentals to helping that kid graduate high school. Some outcomes, obviously bonds and connections. Students know at least one teacher at Douglas High School. Students know that career in tech ed is a 2 or more year commitment. So that's not to say that they can't switch gears and go into something different, but I think the kids know that when they go into CTE, it's a 2-year commitment and they're going to stick with it. And we're here to tell you that it's that stick with itness that makes kids graduate high school. And I've said it for a long time that past success is contagious, right? It's going to carry them on throughout the rest of their lives. Was that a buzzer for me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't know where the buzz is coming from.
All right. As long as I don't see a hook somewhere, right? I'm okay.
I think it's coming from your enthusiasm.
Right? It could be. It could be. The other piece too is that students definitely know what classes to enroll in for their high school career. Back when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me, Kate, it's more important to know what you don't want to do than it is to know what you want to do. And I looked at him and I'm like, crazy old man, what does he know? Well, it turns out he knew a lot, right? And again, if we can get kids in here at the school knowing what they want to enroll in, or more importantly, what they don't want to enroll in, we're helping them out, big picture, right? And then the other piece too is that students know grade level peers with the same career and tech ed interests. So again, they have friends where they go, and that's a beautiful thing. All right, I've talked a lot. Thanks for not putting the hook or giving me the buzzer. Thank you for your time, and I'd leave this part open if you have any questions, comments, or concerns.
Anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? No. Kate, I have to tell you,
Heather
oh,
is.
I have
I'm
one
sorry.
question.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Heather.
I have one question, and I'm not sure, I know we talked a little bit last time about the career college diploma. And is it 2 years then of a CTE class for
Yes,
that diploma?
ma'am. Yep.
Okay.
And then they would have to pass their workplace readiness and their end of program exams as
And then
well.
they would be good.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Nice. Thanks for that clarification. I just wanted to say I love your enthusiasm. And I just think that this whole thing's wrapped around just building relationships with each other. And when you have kids hooked on, and they find something they like to do, they'll be successful. And I think this is wonderful. It's good to see. It feels like it's being reborn again or something. It's fabulous. Good job. Thank you.
Just Cade shared that he was a former elementary principal, but he didn't share that he was 16, 17 years automotive shop teacher, and has quite the reputation. So we found we hit the jackpot when Cade applied for this position, and we're seeing the progress already. And one of that, again, it's creating a vision of CTE district wide, not just at Douglas High School, but at our lake schools, working to build CTE into Aspire Academy. How does that, and it will look different at every place. But again, we believe that if we don't let our middle school kids see that connection, then it makes it hard to have successful programs at the high school if we don't have students feeding into these programs. So Kate, you're doing a great job. Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
Oh.
Doug.
Doug?
So do you guys, you have a, like an auto shop and a welding? You actually have the facilities for that?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And they're both state of the art. The automotive shop this year, we ended up partnering with WNC. So WNC provided us an instructor that's providing 3 years worth of automotive levels for us for this school year.
Okay, as a
And then
carpenter.
Ryan Gonzalez does metalworking this year, which is going to morph into welding. And it's right behind the building, right behind you.
Okay, as a carpenter, I feel bad that there's no wood shop. I had wood shop in junior high.
Yeah,
You know?
and again, I think with the building trades in the valley, that would be something that we should definitely look into as far as expansion.
You can come teach, Doug.
It highlights the needs of or the importance of our needs assessment, that we're constantly conducting those so that we do know what the needs in our local community are, and that our programs are feeding those. And so that's another part of CTE, is to keep it fresh and current. So.
And one of the things, if I could add with career and tech ed right now, it is so hard to find teachers for this right now. And part of the reason why is because anybody who has skills like you're talking about, they're making 3-4 times the amount of money out in private industry than they would as an educator. So it's hard to find people with that skill set, with the same passion for helping kids and setting them up with the skill set that they have as well. Yep.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to item number 14, which is library material selection presentation. And this is going to be done by Miss Rami Cronin Mack.
President Gilkerson.
Yes.
Might I, this was trustee Gilkerson's Lehman's future agenda item. I'm wondering if this might be an appropriate time to have that flexible agenda and move on to at least the training on
Okay,
bullying.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great idea. Thank you for bringing it up.
Shannon, you're it.
Tag team. Okay. Legislation AB 225 requires training for school board members, administrators, and Douglas County School District staff about bullying, and it needs to last 15 minutes in order for it to count.
I don't know that I can match.
Maybe I wasn't supposed to say that.
Enthusiasm.
All right.
So legislation requires all students and staff and as board members that you're trained in the bullying legislation annually. So I'll run through that with you with a couple of changes that came in this past year. Bullying as defined means written, verbal, or electronic expressions or physical acts or gestures or any combination thereof that are directed at a person or a group of persons, or a single severe and willful act or expression that is directed at a person or group of persons. In the 2021 legislature, AB 371 defined discrimination based on race and added that to all sections of state law regarding bullying and cyberbullying. So our definition of discrimination based on race for 388 NRS 388-122, which came out of that legislation, AB 371. Discrimination based on race means any single or repeated or pervasive act or acts, whether targeted to a specific person or targeted in general to any demographic identified in subsection 1, regarding the race, color, culture, religion, language, ethnicity, or national origin of a person that causes harm or creates a hostile work or learning environment, which may include, without limitation, jokes, threats, physical altercations, or intimidations, and that occurs in person, online, or any other setting, including without limitation in a course of distance education. So we will run through everything that is included in the term bullying. Repeated or offensive taunting, name calling, belittling, mocking, or use of put downs or demeaning humor regarding the actual or perceived race, color, national origin, ancestry, religion, gender identity, or expression sexual orientation, physical or mental disability of a person, sex, or any other distinguishing characteristic or background of a person. It's behavior that is intended to harm another person by damaging or manipulating his or her relationships with others by conduct that includes, without limitation, spreading false rumors, repeated or pervasive nonverbal threats or intimidation, such as the use of aggressive, menacing, or disrespectful gestures, threats of harm to a person, to his or her possessions, or to other persons, whether such threats are transmitted verbally, electronically, or in writing, includes blackmail, extortion, or demands for protection money, or involuntary loans or donations, blocking access to any property or facility of a school, stalking, and physically harmful contact with or injury to another person or his or her property. Questions so far? So the big picture bullying, staff members are required by NRS 388-1351 to report violations to administrators, required actions and investigation. There's a notification to parent or guardians, a written report of findings and conclusions of the investigation. There's follow-up with the victim. There's a list of resources to be provided to the parent or guardian, an appeal of disciplinary action, reassignment of a pupil who is a victim of discrimination based on race or bullying or cyberbullying. In summary, a teacher, administrator, principal, coach, or other staff member who witnesses a violation or receives information that it has occurred shall report the violation to the principal or his or her designee as soon as practicable, but no later than the day he or she witnessed the violation or received information regarding the occurrence of the violation. Therefore, you too, as a member of the Board of Trustees, are required to report any information you receive or witness that is a violation of NRS 388-135 to the superintendent. Once you as a member of the board report to the superintendent that you witnessed or were made aware of a possible bullying incident, the superintendent will then work with the appropriate site administrator to investigate the claim and take action to stop the bullying. You will then have upheld your responsibility as a board member to report, and all subsequent next steps are the responsibility of the superintendent and site administrators, and timelines may go into effect at that time. All right. So I did leave in, because there was a couple of changes from last year. The existing law had required administrators to complete their investigation of bullying within 2 days of receiving the report. However, Senate Bill 239 in the 2019 session added 1 additional day if there was extenuating circumstances, and allows up to 5 days to be taken by the administrator to complete an investigation when a report of cyberbullying is received, but only with consent of each of the reported victims who are 18 or consent of the parent or guardians. So the timeline can be extended with the consent of the parents. The law requires administrators conducting investigations to complete a written report. The written report must be made available to all parent guardians of victims and aggressors. And the report must include recommendations concerning the imposition of the disciplinary action and any other measures. Senate Bill 239 in 2019 requires that any action taken after the completion of the investigation to address the bullying or cyberbullying must be carried out in a manner that causes the least possible disruption for the victim or victims. When necessary, the administrator shall give priority to ensure the safety and well-being of the victim or victims over any interest of the perpetrator or perpetrators when determining the actions to take. So, bully reporting in summary, bullying report. Mandatory reporting by the principal within 24 hours to the principal. Immediate action to stop any subsequent bullying by the accused. Notify parents of accused aggressors and victims within 24 hours. Investigate the incident within 2 school days. 1 additional day may be used for extenuating circumstances. Generate the required written report with specifics of the investigation and disciplinary actions. And then most recently, 239 requires action taken after investigation to cause the least possible disruption for the victims. letters to parents with outcomes of the investigation.
Can we go back? I just want to add something. The law also changed that regardless of outcome. So if we were to investigate and we do not find bullying, we're still required to develop a safety plan for both parties. And so that was a change. It used to be that if there was a finding of if there was a finding of bullying, then you had to do it. Now our administrators are required to put in a safety plan even when the investigation found no bullying, according to state law.
So if there's no action, you guys are supposed to make a report to say what you should do based on possibly what could have happened or didn't, was alleged to happen.
Just to ensure the safety of both the victim and the aggressor. So it's may not totally make sense. I think it's kind of where you're going, right? When you don't have a finding, but yet you still have to do a safety plan. So
I think it's there for the fact that the person, oh, I'm sorry, the person that that made the report, the other person's going to know about it and could possibly cause a problem in the future, even though no problem had happened at the time. So I think that's why that's there.
and a lot of times it's just Doug just checking back to part of that safety plan. You're just going to check in with them and ensure that everything is still, is okay. And so alluding to what Ross is saying. Sorry.
And being, the most recent administrator, I guess, right here is, they're reporting for one reason. They're usually reporting for a reason of mistreatment, no matter what. And the administrator, those safety plans just make sure that whatever that student was feeling to report that they felt like they have been bullied, regardless if it met the definition of bullying, we want those safety plans in place to address that and help take care of that student. So a little more about the reporting is the report's result or the results of the investigation available to parents with redactions to comply with FERPA. So when we fill out these reports and before they're given to the parents, all the names of anyone other than their child are redacted. Follow up with the victim within 10 days of the initial incident, report concerning any new instance of bullying. So all administrators set a timeline within that report of how they're going to follow up within 10 days. Parents have 30 days after the report is submitted to file a complaint with the Office of Safe and Respectful Learning Environment if they don't feel it was handled correctly. Community and other resources are always made available to the parents. And then there is the possibility of discipline for licensed employees for knowingly and willfully failing to comply with the mandatory reporting requirements. So it can impact their licensure if they fail to report. So a little bit about the site documentation. Our school district Dcsd investigation tool has updated definitions for NRS 388-122. Immediate action is taken. The alleged bullying or cyberbullying report includes dates, times, persons, the investigation specifics, and it is filed at the school site and with the immediate supervisors at the district office. In Infinite Campus, we record the aggressors and victims if bullying is determined. Letters go home to parents. Hard copy of the final report is sent to the district office, and there's a follow-up with the victims in 10 days. And I know most practice is to follow up with both victims and aggressors to be sure there's nothing else happening. And finally, reports of discrimination based on race, bullying, or cyberbullying may come from employees, volunteers, students, board members. Safe Voice is a confidential tip line that is another way that students or families can report. They can report it through the internet or school district website. If needed, we coordinate with Douglas County Sheriff's Office if they are involved. And when conducting a thorough investigation, interview all leads, do not make their prejudgments, give due process to the students. What are the contexts and the history? Find the root causes of students' behaviors when determining bullying and developing those safety plans. And then sites should be looking for patterns of behavior that may be present in any location or setting that is a part of DCSD, whether it's buses, school-sponsored events, field trips, etc. That's all I have. Any questions for me? Or?
Mentioned Safe Voice. Safe Voice safe voice when someone calls in as anonymous. So if, no matter what's, somebody calls in and reports, it has to be followed through.
Yeah, and usually
Everything
they'll
is.
report who's involved in it. It may not,
Okay.
they don't identify the reporter, but it very often, the safe voices that I've seen that deal with bullying usually identify the bully and at least, hopefully they identify the victim.
Okay, thank you.
So you can deal with it. Any other
Any-
questions?
Any other questions from anybody? Heather, do you have one?
Yeah, I just wondered, where are we getting the most reports of bullying from? Like, is it coming through Safe Voice? Is it coming through employees, or is it coming through other students that are sharing it, or the victim?
I mean, I know in my experience, and I'm not at the secondary level, and so I'm just seeing the district-wide reports. They've been coming from students typically or parents, not necessarily. I haven't seen as many bullying through Safe Voice. Keith sees the whole district's Safe Voice, so I'm not sure. He could probably better respond in terms of the numbers that come through there.
I would venture to guess it aligns with the fact that it is online, but more of our cyber bullying complaints will come through
Okay,
Safe
through
Voice. So some will have happened at home, an incident, and often it's reported. And so we get them both ways, but again, I would say most of them are probably in person. We get a lot, obviously, when situations arise, and then in talking to parents, they may provide us more information that we didn't know about, that then results in an investigation. So, we also get occasional complaints against employees that come through, and so those are turned over to Mr. Gardner as HR director, and he investigates anything that's related to a staff member.
So just when you mentioned the online, if it's just them on like a social media chatting, like that doesn't bring the school involved. Is that correct? Or like, would it be when it's through school accounts, and when it's, or how does that, when is it the school's responsibility and when is it outside of school?
That's always a fine line. And so really what the threshold is if something's truly happened off school grounds and it stays off school grounds, then it's really not our jurisdiction. Unfortunately, where people have the contact is in
Right.
school. And so often it may occur at night or after school, but it is brought into the school because it's the first opportunity I've had a chance to see you, and I
Right.
confront you, and now it's our business. And
Okay.
so that is always a very delicate line. But it depends a little bit with grade levels too. But a lot of, again, the one place that is common is typically school.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and if it's beginning to, if it happens outside, but it's impacting their educational environment, that's definitely, we have to get involved.
And in the bullying cases, they don't get involved as much. But again, when a Safe Voice comes in, our school resource officers are receiving those. I receive all of them. The site administrators are receiving them. And so those are seen. And then, if it's a night, it's a weekend, not necessarily, they look at the magnitude of it. But there are times where the sheriff's office may assign a case number to it and at least send someone out to the home to at least make an initial contact with the Safe Voice. So I'll tell you, it's an amazing system. It really is. And they do a great job. There's oftentimes you get a report and you don't know. They don't know. Safe Voice doesn't know where that kid, is even originated. Is it a Douglas County student? Is it a Carson City student? And they have mechanisms even within there to, as quickly as we possibly can, to identify where is that kid, especially on a suicidal. If you get a threat of suicide, we just had one last weekend. I got a call on Saturday evening at home from Safe Voice saying we can't locate this kid. Is he a Douglas County student? And so it's very impressive, I will tell you that, and very well used.
All right, thank you,
Any other
Shannon. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. All right, well, we're gonna have to move on.
We have a closed session, a short closed session.
Do you wanna do
that real quick? And then
Okay, and then we'll come back for public comment.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna go into closed session for just a few minutes, and then we'll come back for public comment at 5:30.
So I
Okay.
guess we have to make a motion, right?
Yes, go ahead.
I make a motion pursuant to NRS 288.2204 to move to closed session.
Okay, second it. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. We're in closed session. Thank you.
Now-
Is it on now?
There
Okay,
you go.
thank you. I can't tell.
Okay, when we have public comment, I will be timing you. You will have 3 minutes. 2.5 minutes, I will hold up a yellow card. At 3 minutes, please conclude your remarks.
All right, thank you. First, do we have anybody online?
Yes, we do. 20 attendees,
Want to speak?
no hands yet.
No hands yet. Okay, we'll start then with Virginia. Miss Virginia, could you please come up to the table and state your name for the record? And as Ross stated, you'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Virginia Starrett.
Thanks.
Please don't start my time until I actually start.
All right.
To get my pages straight.
That's okay.
A duo of Marxist academics expelled from Germany by the Nazis in the 1930s carted Marxist critical theory to Columbia University, New York. From there, it spread to philosophy departments nationwide, where ultimately in the 1980s, leftist academics searching for a group they could label the oppressed in America determined that minorities of one brand or another would fit that role well for their purposes. And voila, this determination gave birth to identity politics that led quickly to the birth of critical race theory. Shortly in the 1990s, a highly regarded Marxist, pedagogical theorist, and teacher educator named Gloria J. Ladson Billings touched off a long but steady and ultimately quite successful effort in league with leftist educators. They conjured up how to insinuate critical race theory into K-12 classrooms under the guise of an analytical framework supposedly designed to help students. Take note that when this board insists CRT itself is not being taught in classrooms, I wholeheartedly agree. Marxist tenets of CRT, however, are very much looming behind attitudes, policies, and materials that relate to what values students and teachers should adopt and what knowledge students and teachers should ingest, but that covers ground I will comment on in the future. Today, I want to zero in on one vital CRT host. You see, what Ladson Billings and her followers created was now known as social emotional learning. Ladson Billings called for culturally relevant teaching that addressed the tenets of CRT inequities through developing self, social relations, and knowledge. These tenets match SEL goals exactly. The CASEL website backs up what I am saying. They don't hide this. SEL is all about getting children to compromise the core beliefs and values they've taken on through their families. Its goal is to shift students to a collective globalist ideology. Again, check out the CASEL website. They don't hide this. Keep in mind, please, that the goal of Marxists and far left progressives is to destroy capitalism and America, we know, using any means possible. What can be said about the current state of higher education when most teachers and administrators cannot discern that SEL is actually indoctrination and not education? I'm guessing that a majority of you who I am at this moment addressing are dismissing my remarks as far-right craziness. But if you truly care about the children in our schools that you are charged with protecting and educating, I would ask that you research SEL yourselves with an open mind. SEL is like the Pied Piper. Please don't let our children be mesmerized by its poisonous tune. Stop SEL ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. Next, we have Garth. If you don't mind, go ahead when you could state your name for the record, please, sir. And then you'll watch Ross for your 3 minutes.
Garth Pindler.
I'm addressing item 14 on libraries. As a former science, what-
I'm sorry.
am I not close enough?
No. Yes, public comment is for things that are not on the agenda. Right after
Okay.
this, we will be moving on to that item, and then we will have your comments. Okay?
So shall I wait?
Yes, please. Right after public comment, we'll be doing item number 14, which is the library materials. And that's when we call for public if they have anything they'd like to add. Thank you for your patience. Martha, are you the same then, or did you want to come up? You wait? Okay. Okay, we'll go next to online. Kelly? Oh. You appeared. You magically appeared. That's awesome. I know. Can you please go, excuse me, go ahead and state your name for the record?
Kelly Yost.
Thank you.
Okay. My name is Kelly Yost. I'm an art teacher at Douglas High School, and I'm speaking on behalf of our department and art students. I'm hopeful we'll be allowed to take our annual field trips to the Nevada Museum of Art and UNR campus, currently scheduled for January 9th and 10th of 2022. It's my understanding that current guidelines limit out-of-county field trips to students participating in extracurricular competitions or for activities related to higher education. And I believe that our field trips fit both of these parameters. For many years, the DHS Fine Arts Department has partnered with the Nevada Museum of Art to give our students the opportunity to visit the museum and the Scholastic Art exhibition at the Shepherd Gallery on the UNR campus. The Nevada Museum of Art writes an annual grant to pay for the cost of bus transportation to Reno and admission for students, teachers, and chaperones to the museum. Our first stop on the trip is the Scholastic Art exhibition in the Shepherd Gallery at UNR, housed in the recently renovated Church Fine Arts Building. This affords our students the chance to see not only the Scholastic work, but also to become familiar with this impressive facility where studio art, music, and dance classes and performances are held. The Scholastic exhibition includes award-winning artwork from Douglas County and other Northern Nevada secondary schools. Gold Key work is featured in the gallery, and Silver Key and honorable mention winners are part of a virtual exhibition that plays on a loop in the gallery. The top 5 American Visions pieces are displayed at the Nevada Museum of Art, and winners also have the chance to win scholarships at the state and national level and have their work displayed in traveling exhibitions in galleries across the US and in published retrospectives. Following our visit to the Shepherd Gallery, the bus takes us to the Nevada Museum of Art. In addition to the American Visions pieces, the museum always has an impressive display of pieces from their permanent collections, as well as unique and important works in changing exhibitions. With guidance from teachers and docents, our students learn about works from many different time periods, artists, and cultures. These field trips represent an important opportunity for a diverse population of students. I often hear from students, I've never been to the Nevada Museum of Art, but I've also heard I've never been to a museum. I was thinking about some of the students who've attended field trips prior to 2020, which is the last time we took the field trips. One is a student at the Rhode Island Institute of Design, another studies chemical engineering and painting at UNR, and a third studies art at the Art Institute of Seattle, and this is just to name a few. Each of them also won Scholastic Art Awards and attended these field trips. I believe our art students should be considered under the same criteria that allows the music program, sports teams, college-bound students, and other groups to travel out of district.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online? No? Okay. That closes, that closes our public comment. Okay. So we'll move on to item number 14, which is the library material selection presentation. Here you go, Ms. Cronin Mack. Huh? I'm sorry. Thank
Good
you.
evening. I'm waiting for my slides to magically appear.
Mhm.
As we wait, I just wanted to say that we're here today because at the December 14th, 2021 school board meeting, this was placed on the agenda as a requested item to discuss. I really honestly don't have a recommendation, but am willing to entertain questions as we talk about how library materials are selected and weeded for Douglas County School District libraries.
There we go. So with regards to purchasing of materials to the library, we do have a pretty strong board policy as well as administrative regulation. Ooh, it's not liking me. Which I have those cited up there. They were included in your board packet. They do indicate that how materials should be selected, who is responsible for making those decisions with the oversight, which is the school librarian, and with the oversight of the school principal. And it is also then give some recommendation around how those materials should be selected. Within the library services manual itself, we actually go on to cite specific organizations that we would encourage our librarians to reference and use, the American School Library Association being one of the most reputable and probably the one that I most commonly reference. And I didn't say this, but I do oversee librarians for the district. I don't supervise them, but I do meet with them at least 3 times a year. And we do have professional conversations around all of these issues, both the purchasing of materials. We share materials that are new and exciting materials with each other, collaborate around those materials. And then we also discuss the process of weeding in those conversations. It is. So then also then, this is what I was referencing, we also have a DCSD library services manual that we last updated in November of 2018. We honestly were just getting ready to do an update. We figured it was about time. And we ran out of time at our last meeting, but it was homework for everybody to look through it and come back with recommendations for our next meeting coming up in February. Parents obviously or citizens can always challenge materials. There is a process by which materials can be challenged if they are problematic, and those are outlined in AR 219B, and those are based on Nevada Administrative Code and its recommendations for how to address that. And then when it comes to weeding materials, that is the librarian language that we use for removing materials. We do have guidelines for removal of those materials, initially starting out with just those in poor physical condition, obsolete subject matter. They're no longer a part of the interest of the school. There's more current information. They contain inaccurate information, or there's just no circulation. And those are the general guidelines that librarians are given. But then if you'll note, if you go to pages 7 through 10 of the library services manual, there are much more explicit questions that guide librarians through the process of weeding materials based on subject matter. Different areas within the Dewey Decibel System is how that's organized, but you'll see that there are a lot of guidelines there for them. So we do have quite a few procedures in place for both the purchasing and the weeding. And so I sit here before you to say that our secondary librarians are certified personnel. They do have the requirements that come with licensure. They must be annually or renewed in that licensure, or every 5 to 6 years, the certified are, depending on where they are in terms of whether they have a bachelor's or a master's. But so our middle school and high school librarians have that requirement. Our elementary librarians, although they are media specialists, I think at least one of them is a full-fledged librarian, certified as well. And so, we support and coach each other. They do lots of professional development. Holly Coleman has been a real leader in the role of the librarian here at Douglas High School. Within our librarians, she brings to my attention and to their attention lots of opportunities for professional learning so that we can continue to grow them as a group professionally. And so I just sit here, I guess, ready to answer questions you might have about the processes that we currently have in place, and hear any recommendations that you might want to make to either the board policy, to the manual, or to the administrative regulation.
Thank you. Okay, I'll open it up to our board for questions or comments. Trustee Kangas?
This is a comment, and I've read these policies before. We've been involved in this for a while. although it's a lengthy process, from what I can tell, to get a book removed, if that's the desire of just about anybody in the public, a parent, a board member, I think it's adequate. Our policy and the ARs are complete in the process.
In the 8 years that I've been in this position, I've only had that happen one time where we've had to pull out the process and go through it. And it was actually a great process, honestly, because it requires that we have not just that we have some staff, but also that we solicit people from the community as well as parents to come and serve who are neutral, like they don't have a kid at that particular school or student at that particular school. But it's a pretty great process. And I think at the end, even the parent who had the objection and wanted the text removed, I don't think she didn't leave like angry with the process. She felt like she got heard and that it was a well-rounded process.
And I do think that the policy and the ARs and the process is very much needed, because
Absolutely.
those things can occur.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No questions? Comments? Okay. You had mentioned, I just want to ask something. You had mentioned that you do this 3 times a year with the librarians. You meet with them. Is that,
We meet 3 times a year. Yeah. So we
you meet all the librarians together or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
You have your own little, okay.
Yes.
And is this also when you meet with, is this during, are you selecting materials during this time or no?
No, we just discuss materials.
Okay. How often are new materials added?
That's really up to the budget of the school, right?
Okay.
Like I don't oversee it at my level. Things have changed. We used to receive competitive grant monies from the state specifically for libraries. They've taken that out and put it back in just to the per pupil funding. So now it just goes out to their site level budgets. And so I don't have as much oversight anymore on that at all in purchasing. I used to at least see what they were purchasing with that money, but that money is no longer coming through my office. And so now that all that oversight is done at the site level.
So just to go one step further. So when a librarian does want to purchase new material, do you know if they meet with their principal or how do they do it independently or?
The AR designates that the principal does have oversight. The principal approves all purchases. So that should happen at that level.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I would just like to add, I think in some of our most recent discussions, obviously, I was fortunate as administrator to have a librarian that I trusted, and obviously I had oversight on that. But where we do think that we will tweak the ARs just to make the sorry. It mentions principal oversight on the purchasing end, but is silent on the weeding end. And again, our librarians know best. There's a lot of reasons why a book might be taken out of circulation, but that we talk about that oversight at both ends so that the principal's at least aware of what materials are coming out of the library as well. And so that's something that Rami and I have talked about of just adding, it would be a small change that the principal has oversight on both ends. Again, the schools that I've worked in and the administrators I've worked with, obviously we trust the expertise of our media techs and our librarians. But again, that it's not silent even on the oversight to make sure that we at least have an awareness that we're maintaining that diversity. Obviously as superintendent, I believe and I've already stated this strongly, that our library have a diverse array of books for students and that it not get censored down or reduced down to one way of ideological thinking. So that would be the only thing that we've had any discussion about.
Yeah, so the library collections are held in a digital format that we use. It's called Dcsd. And so it's possible to do a report out of Dcsd on the weeding. And so that's what we would write probably into the administrative regulation with your guidance. If there's anything else you'd like us to add just that asking or telling the admin and school librarians, they should sit down annually to review the weeding report so that there's no question about what's been what's been weeded out of the library.
I think you've already answered this, but I'm going to go ahead and read this. This is a question that's been submitted from Rob. It was close. He wants to know if a librarian can unilaterally block a book from a subscription. I think you,
Can a librarian unilaterally?
by themselves, I guess, block.
The librarians have the power. So one of the, as we've learned in the last couple of months, that many of our libraries use something referred to or called the Junior Library Guild, and that's what they where they subscribe to their different books that come regularly. And so if a book arrived at the library that and they reviewed it, they could send it back. Yes.
Okay. Any other comments? Concerns?
Point, I think at certain sites, a librarian could make a unilateral decision to stop a subscription. So they're typically in control of their library budgets, and that expense would come out of that budget. And so as it currently exists now, they could make that unilateral decision if I'm
Correct.
not
So they don't run it through their, they don't run everything through the principal?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. I don't know that we have to.
Well, no, I'm just saying, we aren't required, I don't think, to have public comment, but there are a lot of people that are interested
know,
in
and
the subject.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, thank you, Ross. All right, I'm seeing that there's no more comments, but we are going to allow those of you that came that wanted to speak on this topic. So we'll go ahead and let you do that. And I know I have Garth, you were the first one on the list. And if anyone else wants to add, has something to say, they can always add their name to the list too. Please go ahead and state your name again for the record. And thanks for your patience.
Sure. Garth Pintler. This may be a little bit redundant, but I'm just going to go ahead and read what I have. It's along the same line of what you've been talking about, and I applaud the process. As a former science and math teacher with over 20 years teaching in the district, it's clear to me that we have a great deal of diversity among our students and their families on virtually any scale you might choose: socioeconomic level, political ideology, race, gender identity, mental or physical health challenges, substance abuse, recreational interests, the list goes on. Our students vary widely, and our libraries have the task of meeting as many of their informational and interest needs as possible while promoting their interest in reading. This means having a collection that includes offerings for as many of the potential library users as possible. Age-appropriate library offerings must be accurate in terms of content. The authority of the author, the organization, and the publisher should be considered. Materials should be free of bias and stereotype and should encompass the diversity of our community and our global society. The goal should be to inform and educate, not indoctrinate. Within these guidelines, differing viewpoints on controversial subjects should be available. Intellectual freedom should be recognized, and any efforts by individuals or groups to limit the freedom of choice of others should be opposed. Managing the collection of the library requires both acquiring new materials and so-called weeding or culling of existing materials. This is a daunting task involving thousands of important decisions. Weeding is commonly used to get rid of out-of-date or factually inaccurate materials, or those that are worn, torn, or otherwise spoiled or incomplete. Care should be taken by librarians and administrators to avoid censorship in both acquiring and in weeding library materials. And I'm hoping that administrators have real good communication with principals, and that, you know, books that might be weeded based on something like political ideology, you know, that there is a system that will catch those things and there'll be an ample opportunity for discussion. So every library has materials for different age groups and interests. And some parents may feel that certain ones are not appropriate for their children. I'd just like to give them my personal advice, and that is get involved. If you have concerns about what your child is reading, read it and discuss it with your child. And maybe you will decide that you don't want them to read it, but that's your job. but don't try to censor what the library has in its collection. Please don't try to dictate to others what they should or should not read. So those are my concerns, and I'm hoping that in the acquisition as well as in the weeding, that, you know, ideologies aren't involved. It's the quality of the materials, and that should be the end of the story. And I should say that I think when I was teaching here, the librarians that I knew did a really wonderful job.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, Garth. Next, we have Miss Martha. Would you please state your name for the record? Thank you.
My name is Martha Becher, and I was at CVMS as the middle school librarian there for 17 years. I started my tenure there in 2000. And so I worked with the policy that Rami just went over, you know, in the 2015 form, at least toward the end. I just want to say that I loved working with students and the staff at CVMS over the years. And as librarian, you're given a special opportunity. You have a special window into the lives of all the students in the entire school. For me, my central purpose was to nurture and encourage reading in those students. Please understand, in many cases, this was really a difficult task. There were many who would tell you they hate reading. They didn't have time for reading. They couldn't read. And the list went on. These were the kids that I most wanted to have success with. Of course, I loved working with the kids who cared about books, but they were the easy ones. For the non-readers, having an array of books to suggest, getting to know their interests, encouraging them to talk to friends for ideas, all helped immensely. But having a vast array of books is essential. It's important to understand that our students come to us from many different experiences, and different stories matter to different people. Again, my goal was to encourage reading. In my experience, that can happen if you have if you have books that kids enjoy, find useful, want to read more of, etc. I spent a lot of time selecting titles. I used my own money to attend national school library conferences where I had the opportunity to talk with other librarians from all over the United States. I would also learn about new books. I would meet authors and hear what they had to say about the reason they wrote the book. And often I would bring home handpicked galley copies of books soon to be published by the boxful. My membership in the American Library Association came with a monthly magazine subscription that had many reviews to further expand my awareness about children's literature. Here in Douglas County, the school librarians work hard to find the best books to continue to meet the needs of all of our students. And I've continued to substitute in some of the schools as well. And I have my favorites because some of the elementary librarians, it's fantastic, the books that they have. Librarians hold the public trust very dear, but we also believe in having the freedom to read what is engaging and significant as individuals. Political posturing by adults in the name of protecting children should be named for what it is: censorship. Douglas County has in place clear policy that guides book selection and reading in our school libraries. Let us continue to do our work helping our students find engaging and important reading material conveniently located in their very own school libraries. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. That is all I have on this list. Is there anybody online? No? And is there anyone else that wanted to come and speak? I know you've been waiting a long time. If not, okay. We'll move on. Rob, did you have anything you wanted to add? Glad you
Apologize
did.
for being late. I was watching my son and the Douglas JV basketball team. They won, but they threw the ball away a lot in the third quarter, which made the game go really, really long. I guess, is your anticipation then with, and I listened to this discussion as I was driving, and you said you're going to tweak the AR a little bit. Is your anticipation that the tweaking of the AR would mean that any book that is blocked from a subscription would go through the principal? Or would that still be something that can be done unilaterally by a single librarian without any other oversight or insight?
So I think we have to be really careful, and that's the fine line. Like, we don't want to get into over micro, but we have to be really careful with that. I think we were talking more in terms of permanent deletion from the collection. So not necessarily getting into what was blocked in a subscription. We don't have oversight on that right now. And the way these subscriptions work, just to kind of give you, from what I know, and certainly Rami, you're still over there.
I'm back.
Is that a librarian can then analyze their library, and I need more science fiction books in my library right now, and so they can select categories that then books targeting those categories are the books that are recommended and will be sent to them. And so they can change that over the, every month they probably can change it, but they can change it over time, again, to build that collection in certain areas. So we don't have oversight at all in that process. Rami, you might be able to expand a little bit more. I just, when I was talking about what I was stating was the permanent deletion of a book from a library, that would at least have some oversight from the principal, such as the purchase of materials for the library do as well. And as Rami said, some of that is we approve, as a site administrator, you approve the purchase orders and you generally get a list. I would tell you that some principals probably look at those a lot closer than others. So I don't know if it's a long answer, but may not get to what your concern is. Rami, do you have any more?
I don't really have any more. I mean, like Superintendent Lewis explained, if a librarian subscribes to Junior Library Guild and designates that for the 2022-2023 school year, they want books in a certain content area, they have that right to send them back if once they review the book, they don't see a reason to put it on the shelf. And there could be a variety of reasons, but I want to remind you on the other end, which is, and I know you were listening, but our librarians are highly educated and highly trained, right? I mean, the ones that are secondary level are licensed, and our elementary media specialists get a lot of support from those licensed folks. And I feel like as a team, they're stronger now than they've ever been, especially with regards to their collaboration and their work together to have constant professional learning so they can be better.
I just wanted to mention, not to step on anybody's toes, but we have a lot of librarians in our audience today, this evening, and I didn't know if they had anything they wanted to come up after listening to all of this that we're talking about. If you had anything you wanted to clarify or say, if not, that's okay. No, you good? Are you good with our conversation? Come on up, Holly.
Come sit next to me, Holly.
Come sit next to Rob. These are the people.
Yes. So I guess I just want to just share some really good news with you about our school librarians. We're really fortunate to have really highly qualified and skilled school librarians, professionals working in Douglas County School District. And I have kind of compiled some information about them just to kind of share with you. It's a job that a lot of people don't necessarily understand unless you've done it. But like Rami was saying, we are often overqualified for our job. We have on average about 17 years of experience working in the school library. We have all taken college level coursework in library administration, including the selection of materials. Many of us hold advanced degrees. We generally attend 20 to 80 plus hours of professional development each year. We are currently active members of 8 professional organizations, including the Nevada Library Association, the American Library Association, and the American Association of School Libraries. They are also active participants in collaborative professional networks in Nevada and the US and beyond. And before working in the library, many of them had years of experience in education. They have been nominated and received quite a few awards, including Classified Employee of the Year, Outstanding Educator of the Year, Distinguished Support Staff, and NASB Making a Difference Award. And they are leaders at their sites and play important roles in literacy initiatives and intervention, technology integration, PBIS, SIP, SPP, EPIC, maker spaces, school safety, and much, much more. And actually, I can just share this. If you don't mind, I can just share this with you, what I shared today. And if you guys have any questions, I don't know if I can answer questions. Can I do that? Yeah, okay. I mean, if you have any questions about the ins and outs of the library, I'd be happy to answer them. Because even, Rami is awesome as our district level administrator and meets with us regularly. But sometimes, she's not right there in the library doing the job with us. So if you have any questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none? Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Thank you all
Linda,
for
I
being
just
here.
want to, thank you, Holly.
Thank you for this too.
Yeah.
The principal ultimately has oversight of everything that happens at a school site, including the budget. And so, the principal does have oversight to subscription services. And so, again, that may be a discussion we have with our site administrators in terms of that oversight, and those decisions are made in collaboration with the administrator, not just arbitrarily, again, trying to ensure that we get that wide range. And there's a variety of ways to get that, but certainly a subscription service helps to diversify your collection. And so I think those are conversations we can have at the admin level, that there is that awareness of that and how we're obtaining our collections from site to site. And there will always be variations. I mean, we're not looking for a lock stop. This is the exact way we do it. But again, I think it's on the backside. How are we getting rid of things permanently, and then just that oversight of the collection and how we're collecting it.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. If you have something, we can come up to the mic. Thanks. Go ahead and state your name for the record, please.
My name is Pamela Petit, and I'm the librarian at Gardnerville Elementary School.
Thank you.
And I have been in the district for, this is my 36th year. So I've been in the library that whole time. Started as a.
Holy moly.
All right, let's get that over with. Now, I use the Junior Library Guild collection because it saves me some time. It's a highly reputable organization. It has won numerous awards, and every year, 40%, no, that's wrong. Almost, I believe last year was 88% of the books that they had sold within their categories all won awards. And the awards are coming out, the ALA awards are coming out on the 24th of this month. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm eagerly awaiting to see what those books are. And JLG every year has already sold us a large quantity of those books. So we know we're getting quality books when we go with that organization. Now, that being said, we only have so much money, and JLG can be expensive. So we only have so many categories that each of us has been able to afford if we choose to use the subscription service. And JLG has it in place where I can look at the books 2 weeks before they come to me and know the titles that are coming out that month. And if I see anything on there that I think, oh, that's not really going to fit in the collection, that's not going to interest anybody in our little community, then I will go on and I will click and say, I don't want this one, but I saw this other one that I would like instead. If I get a book And I'm not bragging when I say that part of my job, I think, is to read almost every book that comes into that library that I've ordered. Now, I don't read every single one of them, but I do read the majority of them. And if I take them home and I read a JLG book and I didn't like it, for whatever reason, and it's usually I didn't like it, I didn't think it was a great read, or I thought it was too dark or too old, or it belonged in the middle school and not in an elementary school, then I'll send it back. But yes, that is usually my judgment, and I do it. And no, I don't usually pass it by the principal. But the principal knows that I have this subscription and I have these categories that I get books from every year, and he trusts me to manage that. Did that answer the question?
Clarifies. Anyone have any questions? Okay, go ahead, Rob.
Sounds like JLG is a pretty good resource. Do all of our schools use it?
No.
Okay,
Yes. It is expensive.
fair. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much, and
you.
thank you for your service. Very helpful. Thanks. We got lots of information tonight. Thank you. All right, I guess we're done with you. All righty. We'll move on to item 17. And this is discussion regarding addition or deletion of topics to future board agenda items for discussion and possible action. What we would like to discuss is how items are added or taken off the future board agenda items. I know, Rob, you were interested in this item, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
I think this is my agenda item. And as I look through our process, I think we have a pretty good process for how items get onto our list. And then I think our process is a little bit vague once they're on. Meaning, once they're on the list, we then have our agenda item at the end of the meeting and we say, hey, what agenda items, which of these do we want to talk about? Is there anything we want to do next month? So I think there should be a way to make that process a little more formal if needed. And I don't think it always is. It could be that we get to that item and say, we do the same exact thing and we're fine. But I think there should be a way to, one, place an item on an agenda by motion. Number two, take items off the list by motion. And that would have to obviously be done by an action of the board, by a majority of the board. So let's say an item is suggested that neither the president or the superintendent really likes. In theory, that item can languish on that list forever. In theory, because president doesn't want to hear it, superintendent doesn't want to hear it, and so it just never gets put on. So my thought is during that discussion, if a motion's made, I make a motion that we put future agenda item C on the January board meeting, whatever, February. Doesn't have to be the next meeting. It could be a few meetings out. If that motion passes by majority, then it's placed on the item on the agenda. And in conjunction with that, I think the board should be able to take anything off the list, and that would be for any number of reasons. It could be because that item's become stale. It could be because a majority of the board simply doesn't want to hear that item. They know that it's on the list and they don't want to spend time on it. They don't think it's worthy of the board's time, whatever it is, but it would have to be an action of the board, a majority. So those are just my thoughts.
Okay.
So as I understand it, to put an item on the agenda, it just takes bringing up a motion and getting seconded.
That puts it on the list,
That
not
puts it
on the
on-
agenda. That's my concern. That
Yes.
puts us on a list, but not on the agenda.
Right, so for somebody want to take something off, If it's made a motion second to take it off, then we vote. Okay. So I'm not sure, when is it that we ever vote on an issue to come before the board? I mean, to put it on the agenda, it just takes a motion and a second. So are you saying if we vote and say we want to have it on the agenda in 2 meetings, then we vote on it type thing? Or would that be a way to ensure something gets on there that the board wants?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, it's possible that the process I'm talking about isn't needed but once or twice a year, that what we've been doing so far works fine. But what I'm saying is there is the possibility that an item can go onto the list. And I want to distinguish between the list and the agenda. An item could go onto the list that never gets onto the agenda because it doesn't have support of the superintendent and president. That's possible. With what I'm proposing, the board as an action item can place it on the agenda. We can take it from the list and put it on the agenda. All the board can do right now is put it on the list. They can't put it on the agenda. Does that make sense?
And we would do that by voting.
By voting, with a motion, by action, yes,
When we're discussing future agenda items.
correct.
I think
But the
that's,
converse is also true. Like this one we've got on here from me and Carrie from 2019, the map assessments. I could make a motion that I'd like to take that off of the agenda, or I don't wish to hear that any longer. And if it got seconded, we could vote on that to take it off the agenda.
You could take any item off. Yeah, absolutely.
but if you had made the motion, couldn't the person that made the motion make the motion to take it off, and then we don't need to vote, we just say, I guess. it doesn't matter.
Trying to talk about a process that we'll do for all of them.
And that's been a timing issue, year after year. It's not a discussion I still wouldn't like to have, but it's definitely an August, September item. So that's where I view the problem with that is, I'd still like to get more involved with map assessments personally.
Right, I just use that as an example.
No, I understood. Yeah, I understood, Ross.
Don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob.
You guys have been in this meeting a lot longer than I have tonight, and so if there's, I don't think we need a motion right now, but if everybody kind of shakes their head, I think we could ask the superintendent to come up with a proposed policy and bring it back that we could actually vote on. I don't think we want to sit here and wordsmith
No,
a policy
not at
right
all.
now.
no, so we could. Right, and how to place items on the future agenda. That's
Place
what
and
we-
remove
or
items.
remove- Place, yeah, to place and remove items
Yep.
on the agenda.
I think that sounds good. I would be, yeah.
Sorry, what-
I'm just saying, I agree. I think that sounds good.
Everybody okay with that? Charge Steve and his staff to
enough.
help us with that and to bring something back. Okay, good. All right.
Just so we can talk about items you don't want to talk about.
No, have not. I agree. I have not either. Yeah, exactly. So do you want to make a motion?
Do you need a motion on this? I mean, I don't think you do, but we
Do
can
we?
make one.
I think we're just giving them direction.
Just make one. I make a motion that we ask staff to bring back a change to our bylaws that allows a process to place an item from the future agenda list onto an agenda or to remove an item from the future agenda list.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, we have one more thing left, and that's the
Number C,
pardon me?
Or A, right?
Number A.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, A on our number 3, was it?
Number 4, 4A.
Or A.
4A, thank you. So we're going to go back to item 4A. We pulled it, Rob, so you could be here for the discussion. And it's approved membership in the Nevada Association of School Boards. Okay.
What's our-
We're all looking at each other.
Are we-
Well, I don't want to speak. I'll speak last, I think. I guess this is an association that we've been a part of. And in order to continue to be a part of it, we have to either make a motion to vote to stay on it.
That's the way I read the bylaws.
That's,
Okay.
that's
Does someone want to
understandable.
make a motion?
I have a question. What does it cost us?
It cost us $13,000 a year. That's what it costs. It's based on your population of your district and whatever. Yeah, and then there's the trainings and things.
Let's have some discussion on the value.
Okay.
I
You
would,
attended a training. Did you want to talk about that?
You know, it seems like we haven't had much attendance by that group to any of our meetings. I've only seen them once, but I've been sick a lot, so.
They don't usually come to our meetings, to be honest with you. I've been nominated as the director the last year, so I'm like the liaison between them. That I bring back reports from what's going on in the association. Heather was now voted to be the director for the NASB if we decide to stay in it. So she would be the one that would attend meetings and just kind of like your other groups that you attend, that you bring back the information. So that's how that works. Yes, Doug.
When the whole thing was going on with Merrick Garland and her comments about domestic terrorist parents, and Deb Oliver is her name, right?
That's correct.
And she sent out a letter in support of that. That's kind of soured me to the whole NASB. So in my opinion, I would vote against renewing the membership.
Okay. Gary? Rob, go ahead. Sorry, my back was to you.
When I think about this organization, I kind of think of our budget, and I think of age-old question of, what's the best use of our money? What's good, better, and best? We sat here and heard just now from the librarians about a great organization, the JLG, that we don't have enough money for in most of our schools. I look at this organization, NASB, and I don't see any tangible benefits that our district gets from it. They came in and presented to us a few months ago, and I asked them, what have you done that would help our district? And they gave one example, and that was that they pushed very hard to get internet out to everybody. And we didn't have a problem with that in our district. John had already taken care of that. Thank you, John. And so I don't know what they do. I learned recently that they don't take action unless they have 100% buy-in. And I kind of liked that because I thought, okay, the big districts can't push anything forward, right? Without support of this organization. And so I liked that. And I thought, okay, that might be worth staying with it. And then I learned a little bit more about what happened with the new funding plan. And the new funding plan came up, and it came to this organization, the only organization that we have that lobbies for our board. And because there wasn't 100%, because the big districts obviously didn't want anything, when we needed this organization to step up, they stepped out. They were out of the game. They said, we're not talking about this. And that's frustrating to me. If we're part of an organization, I want an organization that represents us at all times. I would much rather be a part of the Nevada Rural School Districts Association. It doesn't exist right now, but maybe it will if we lead the charge. Maybe it will if we lead the charge. So when I look at what do, they put on one conference and then they charge us to go to it. For the same amount of money, $13,000, we can send all of us to the National School Board Association conference. So I'm to the point where I'm ready to say I don't see the benefits, and show us the benefits and we might be back next year, but we're not there this year. So that's where I stand.
So you've done some work on this. Is that the only lobbying that they do for school districts in Nevada
No,
with the state?
no,
So
no,
there
no.
is value. But not in the value that you just mentioned, obviously.
That's correct, Terry. I would
And
agree.
that's a big-
I would agree. I would agree.
I would just like to make some comments. I agree when you first brought up how much it costs, and I thought, I don't like to spend money. And so I was like, oh my goodness, like that's, way too much. But I do have to say, when Linda asked me to step in for presenting to the State Board of Education, I was on a meeting with a bunch of people from all the different school boards, and we were talking about this presentation. I just have to say, in those few meetings I had and in my interaction with them, I learned so much of just how things work and how, as we work together, we can make things happen. We are at a point right now where we need more money, right? I mean, all education needs more money. I'm just going to throw out there kind of some of the things that I kind of got to understand through this. As we looked at, I talked last time about the rankings of the schools, right? Well, part of that ranking is how similar the amount of money is per student throughout the state. So when we have a lot more money per student than Washoe County does, that lowers our ranking, okay, or Clark County or whatever. And so as we try and get the same amount of money per pupil throughout the state, that raises our ranking. That makes us better. And I'm just telling you just that I learned that and understood that. That does not mean that I like the per pupil or the pupil-centered funding. It does not mean, but it started to help me kind of understand what, as a state, they're trying to do. They're trying to help our rankings go up. I feel like as board members and as people in education, we should be fighting for all students to have a lot of money and the money they need. And so as we talked in this meeting and as we were working with NASB and then as we were working with the state board, we were talking about how can we all come together? How can we all go to the legislature? How can we all make our voices heard and help so that we can get money for all the students?
And what they say.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. And what did they say?
And that's what, so they were talking about that we're gonna get together, we're gonna create some groups and we're gonna be ready for this next legislative season and see what we can do to make sure, to make our voices heard more. And they just talked about like, let's bring all of these districts together. Let's bring the State Board of Education together. Let's bring everyone together and make it a bigger voice, basically, and that we can work together on this. So I guess what I kind of started to see is that it gave us an opportunity to work together. I met different people from different, different boards and talked to them and talked about the common problems we have and the different, and the different things that are going on. So I guess I'm just saying that we need that. We need that ability to work together with others that are on the same page and have the same common causes. And you're right. Sometimes we have a little bit different ideas. We just need something. And so, like you said, if we're making a rural, or something, but I'm nervous to step out and not be part of an organization that will help us to make those connections. So I'm just saying, I'm not sure what to do, but I do have to tell you, in the few meetings that I had that I was a part of, I learned a lot. I was able to ask a lot of questions, get a lot of information to understand things. We're already finding we don't always know what the State Board of Education is doing and stuff, but that NASB is kind of that helps us to know what's happening at that level and to help keep communication open. And I guess that's what I'd be worried about. I don't know if any of that made sense, but that's my thoughts.
I mean, I think that, one of our biggest problems is that they took all of our tax dollars, instead of us paying, we get our tax dollars. Now it's distributed throughout the state.
Mm-hmm.
Where were they then legislatively? Because that's really going to affect us. That's my problem with them. One of the most important things that can ever happen to Douglas County, I didn't hear a thing about it from them.
I've got a question. Our payment, our dues, were paid when, and we are paid through when?
Through June 30th.
Then I would I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we stay involved with NASB. We watch closely their success in the legislature this year. And we vote again in June prior to making our next dues, whether we want to stick with them based on their success.
Ask a question. I mean, are we with them until June anyway?
Yes,
Paid for it.
yes, we're paid up through June 30th.
Because the money has come up. And we have not been able to get a straight answer from Board Book, but we do get a discount for Board Book, which is the software we use for our board agendas. And so that would go up. So some of that savings would be spent on, I don't think it's equivalent 100% across, and we'll try to get more information so that we have that information for you as well to make that decision in June.
And I have a question, Keith. I know that the Superintendent's Association also lobbied. I know that our senators lobbied, and I don't think anybody was successful. Now, if they didn't lobby, I understand the difference. But there's
And we have the
a
same,
powerful-
we have the same issue. In our Nevada, not every issue are we eye to eye on, and certainly in the funding, we were not eye to eye with Clark County and the charter schools. And so your impact of lobbying unanimously on a lot of things is never going to be there. And it's probably not the worst thing for it's hard for our association to represent everyone in that. And that's why it forced the rurals to seek legal representation to then advocate on our behalf through that back channel. But I don't know that any organization was going to be successful with the makeup of the legislature and where the winners were going to come from.
But
Well, it just wasn't NASB that wasn't able to, it was the NAS, the superintendents, it was other legislatures in our court, it wasn't, you just can't blame not getting the funding just on one organization.
what I
I
can,
don't think that's
yeah,
fair.
and I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
More information on things that they do for us is going to be a great help to make this decision. And I know that they would absolutely want us to be part of it, but we do have to give value to it. I have personal value when I do go to that conference on an annual basis. And I have been. There's a diverse amount of information you get. It's just like a library. You take it in, you learn stuff, you throw some of the stuff away, but they make that happen for me and my ability to be a good
And
school board
I would like to, hang on one second, Ross, I'm sorry. I'd like to add one more thing too, is for myself too. You get out of it what you put into it. If you attend the trainings and you use them, they're usually very, very good. They also, not that because everybody's doing it, we should, that's not a reason, but all the other school boards in the state of Nevada belong. They're a member. States like Nevada, they mandate the training that we have. So we have to have so many hours, and they do provide good training. Not that Pool Packs doesn't provide training, but a lot of it's on, if you've taken it, it's on the computer and you're pushing buttons. The training that they offer is more
valuable.
it's more valuable. It's about related to the governance, policy, and fiduciary responsibilities. They do a good job of helping us to understand the new funding formula.
As much as they can.
As much as they can, because it is confusing. We can hear it over and over again. They also help us with policy writing, legal matters. They will, when we come to that point, help us with superintendent searches. They help track state legislation and advocate for school boards. One of the other topics that always comes up is having nominated or appointed school board members. They fight very hard not to have the governor appoint school board members. They feel it should stay as an elected official. They also, we're part of the NSBA, the National Association. That's been around since 1940. So it's a well-oiled machine in many aspects. I know there were some problems this last year, but it's a nonprofit. There's 51 million public schools in NSBA. There's over 13,000 school districts, 90,000 school board members are a member of that. They just did some restructuring because of the things that went on, and they now have a new executive director and CEO, and their offices are out of Alexandria, Virginia. So I know it's a little bit removed, but and Deb Oliver, Dr. Oliver, she's been here now for maybe a couple years, and she came in and she took over, and I personally feel she's doing a great job and trying to bring everyone together. And I think together we are stronger than if we break apart as one. But that's just my say. Ross, go ahead. Thank you for waiting.
Okay, well, I can see the board is split, but I think that that Rob's idea is good and his motion is good to go ahead and approve for the next 6 months and then review it.
Except that the legislature isn't meeting this year.
Yeah, that's right. It is not meeting this year. It is not meeting this year. But I think we want to send a message to NASB of what more we would like to get out of it and what we see that they aren't providing and what we would like to get more from them. Okay. I think this should be kind of a little bit of a wake up call to them about what we'd like to see, the cost of things. They have to understand that the school districts aren't made of money. Okay. And I don't know how much they pay their CEO or Deb Oliver over there, but it's a lot of money. And when we send people to these national conferences, basically to send a person to a national conference when you go across the country and stay for a week, I mean, and per diem and things like that, the airfare and all of that sort of stuff, and the hotel, you're talking several $1,000s besides, it's a lot of money. And, $13,000 a year doesn't seem like much, but that's two children, their payments from the state for the year, the DSA. Okay. And if we're spending $3,000 and sending 2 or 3 people to the national conference, there's another DSA. So, and that's our funding mechanism. So I've always had a problem with the amount of this is cost and what the return is on that amount. And I guess my problem comes that we had a school board member years ago that had to go to every conference there was. You don't get to go to every conference. So my motion or my second is to second Rob's motion and revisit it in June and send them send a message that we want to see more of what we're going to get out or get from NASB. Send them a message.
I have one more question. That is, because we're members of NASB, we don't pay dues, or is the money we're sending to NASB make us members of NSBA? We don't pay dues to NSBA. We're not tied to NSBA in any way, correct?
The national?
So, yeah, so we don't have to go,
Well, it
I'm
seems like
talking
we
about
always do.
NASB and not NSBA personally.
Karen, can you clarify a couple things for the board? Number one, when is the payment due? Yeah, is it truly due in June? But it's not due in January, to your knowledge. You don't know. That's fine. We'll find out. Okay.
Yeah, that was my question, is June early enough for us to make this decision, or it should be a May item?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And then the second question, does it make us members of the national? Often when you join a state association, there are some affiliation agreements with the national or vice versa. So we'll do some research on that front as well.
And I don't know if they're paying to belong to the national. I know they are, all members are national members because we voted at the last conference whether we were going to stay with the national or not because of that
Right.
Carolyn thing. And they restructured everyone and they got rid of the president and brought in somebody else because of that. So because states were gonna pull out, whole states were gonna pull out. And Nevada decided kind of what we're doing now, we'll wait and see, to be honest with you. So that's where we're at with the national.
And I don't know if this needs to be an agenda item prior to May as well, so that, what I'm hearing is concerns, but do we need to collect those concerns and then communicate those concerns to NASB with an expectation that they respond? That's up to you guys how you want to present that, but maybe it is a discussion that you come together with what are the questions you want asked, and then we can ask those of NASB for a response.
Well, when they came down here, we did tell them our concerns.
Right.
They know what our concerns are, at least Rob's and mine are. And I have not heard them address those concerns.
I also would like to add though, with that the board members that have attended the conferences, as Carrie has, as I have, and whoever, and also have been exposed to more information and been, I guess I would say, on the inside as opposed to being on the outside looking at them. I think the people that have that experience see more value in them than those that have not taken advantage of the things that they do offer, like the trainings, for example. So I think that's part of the problem with this too, is there's just a finite number of people that are in NASB, or there's one director for each school district, sometimes an alternate that can go to things as well. And so when you attend something, I think you do find more value in it than if you stay back and not put yourself in there to see what it is. Go ahead.
I was on the board for, I think, 4 years before you and I joined the board, and I went to the 2 or 3 of their things. I did not find them a good use of my time. Maybe things have changed with Dr. Oliver, but the 3 things I went to were not so great. And as of now, I mean, just on a personal level, their annual thing every year is the same weekend as my daughter's birthday, and just doesn't work.
Well, there you have it.
3rd weekend in November does not work for me.
Well, I have to say that the things that I've been to, on the other hand, I can tell you that I've gained a lot of information from it.
Fair enough.
And I was open to it and looking forward to it. And not that you weren't, I'm just saying I did get a totally different experience.
I have one final comment. That would be that huge decision, if we're gonna, be different than every county in the state of Nevada and be an island, then we better have resources to back up our decisions.
We could end up being an island, or we could end up being a leader.
Absolutely.
They might peel off and we might have a rural association real quick.
But you have to remember, their association's been, the National's been around for 40 years, and the connections they've made throughout the country is.
Yeah, but a rural association could join that like that.
Yeah, I
You think they're going to turn it down? No.
Okay. Maybe not. All righty. I think we beat this to death. So did you make a second? Okay, let's go ahead.
Did you want the information on the billing?
Sure.
So the purchase order was created at the end of July. And the description is 2021, 2022 NASB annual membership dues. That might be when they do it, their billing, just because of it's a fiscal year. And I don't have record of the actual invoice in front of me. It's in my files at the office. So I think they bill in July for the fiscal year. So a June meeting would be.
We'd have to do it before then, though. We'd have to make that decision in May, or let them know, because, or something. All right.
You want me to?
Heather?
Does that mean we need to?
Do you want me to amend it to May?
amend the?
Yes.
Make amendment to my motion that deletes any reference to the legislative session that isn't going to happen this year, and moves our next vote to May and not June.
You want them to we need it restated.
Yeah, go ahead, start over.
I assume Ross, yours is taken off the table with that. Your second?
Sure. Second,
All right.
okay.
I make a motion that we vote again in May whether we want to be a part of NASB for the following school year based on actions that they take between now and then and any other information they want to give us.
Okay, motion made.
Second.
Ross seconded. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion passes 7-0. Okay, we have one more public comment. Oh, I did. What was 19? Sorry, I closed my thing up.
Future board agenda items.
Oh,
Of all things.
oh my goodness. Okay. Future agenda items. Are we going to go ahead then and just take them? Is what we've been doing? Until we get it? Okay, so our next item, item 19 is request for items to be placed on future agenda items. Does anyone have any?
I brought this up last time. I'm not sure Tony heard me. Can you hear me? Okay, I would like to discuss the survey that comes out. I'm still gathering information, but perhaps changing it to an opt-in rather than opt-out, and maybe addressing some more of the questions.
Can you be more specific? What survey and
The
was
survey
it already
that comes
given
out in the-
or?
The survey that comes out in the fall, what is it called? You know the one I'm talking about.
One that they came down and presented on the state.
Yeah.
Climate,
At
the
this point,
climate.
at this point, we made a motion, or we just made a motion to do that, to opt out.
School
Okay.
climate.
School climate is what it's
School
called.
climate.
But we made a motion to opt out. so
Right.
It would take a vote of 4 of the people on the board to change that motion now, because it hasn't even been a year. Right?
You know, and again, I'm going to report, I mean, this was brought to our attention and there is no evidence that in fact occurred. The survey does not include the question. Once again, this would have had to been a miraculous situation in which a student was accessed a question that wouldn't even been on that, and we removed it. And so while someone said it in public comment, doesn't make it fact, and we've done the research and I've communicated that did not occur. So as you as a board directed me, I notified families of the survey. I provided the form for them to opt out if they so chose. It's posted on our website, and that question was taken off by the state and has been verified that it was taken off. So, I mean, we can discuss it if you want to, but
Okay, I'll withdraw.
Okay. All right. Anybody, anything else?
The last one can be taken off. We heard it tonight.
Oh, okay, we can go through the list. Yeah, we did the library.
I would like to do the recruiting efforts would be timely next month.
Okay. That will work. And then you're gonna work on a future board agenda items and how we're gonna handle those.
Yep,
That's on there
we'll
as
bring that
well.
back in
We'll
February.
bring that back too. So there's 2 more there. The other one's for August or September. And then the other one that's on here is interventions provide to help overcome instructional loss. And we'll keep that on.
Can we talk about number 2 on the list? Kind of timely, but then we didn't get the information.
So my understanding was that this discussion would be a discussion where we prioritize where we put money if we need to cut.
Right.
We wanted to tell staff basically, hey, if you need to cut from here, cut from here, cut from here.
Right.
I think that's probably still valuable. I don't know.
It can be, but it also can create hysteria if we're not in the situation where so it may be more timely if we get to a situation where we know we're going to have that budget cliff, that rather than you going out there and talking about programs that now you're prioritizing and you don't necessarily need to Make
That's
it-
why, can it just stay on there?
Yeah,
until
that's
such
fine. I
time
just
as-
want to make
as
sure, yeah, as long as you're okay.
becomes Relevant.
Fine with me.
Yeah, you don't want to have a list and say we're going to cut the music program or something and then, you know.
Yep.
We'll move to the, back to the commons.
Yeah, exactly.
We did that. It was horrible.
All right, I think we're good. huh?
Yeah, I want to be clear. So we moved to February, the informational report on the recruiting efforts, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And was there another item on February?
And then we'll come back with the bylaw change for agenda items.
Okay.
It would be a first, as that would be, it would be a first reading. Well, I'll give it my try. You guys will, you all give me feedback. Hopefully it's not too substantial, but if it's pretty close, then we could come back for a second reading.
Thank you.
So it's a 2-month process.
All right. Are we ready for public comment? Seeing none?
Just a sec.
Oh, is there anybody on?
Yep.
I see a chat.
Okay.
Giving her extra time.
Yes, we will. Hi, Casey, are you there?
I am.
Thank you for your patience and waiting.
Casey Rogers, for the record. At the last meeting, I was cut off at approximately 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I have no idea why, but I didn't get to finish my public comment on there. So I would just like to finish some of my last statements that I'd like to say.
You know what, Casey, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll give you a full 3 minutes tonight.
4 minutes.
4 minutes, excuse me. We'll give you 4 minutes tonight, okay? Sorry, that was
I don't
oversight.
believe that I need 4 minutes, but I just wanted to finish up what I had to say. After doing some of my own research, again, which I've done this entire time, wondering if you guys are doing the same or if you're just following the CDC stuff. But I do see that you're still sitting there in masks that are very unhealthy for you to be putting on your face. Robbie, you mentioned about being a leader, and I'm just curious when you were talking about that being an island or being a leader. And I kind of feel like as board members, you should be being leaders of our community for our children, and wearing masks that don't work, that have been proven scientifically not to work, is not being a leader. You could read the side of the box and it'll tell you that very simply. And then you can also read the New England Journal of Medicine. They'll tell you the same thing. But going back to my last comment, I was talking about how you guys were receiving funds and at the same time complying so that you receive those funds, which in everything that I've been seeing, it just seems like you're kind of colluding with our tyrannical governor to do these kinds of motions. I just wanted to remind you, you know, the Holocaust was legal and hiding Jews was criminalized. Slavery was legal and freeing slaves was criminalized. Segregation was legal and prostituting racism was criminalized. So where does your morality lie in all of this? You need to look at yourselves as individuals and as board members, and you should probably put a stop to what's happening. Sitting around there in your guys' masks is very unhealthy for all of you, especially for the gentleman who has a disability and has already told you that he shouldn't be in a mask and he's sitting there with one. Why is that? That is absolutely discrimination. And that's all I had to say tonight. Thank you.
Oh, we have one.
Sorry. Okay, who is it?
Oh, she's coming on and off. Is Leslie Hokinson wanting to speak?
Leslie, are you there?
Seeing one on chat, 19 participants.
She's back on again.
Is that on?
Oh. Yep.
Can you hear me?
We can. Can you go ahead and say your name for the record?
My name is Leslie Hokinson. Oh my God, I don't even know where to start after that last lady's comments. Yes, many of those things that she said were legal, But as we all know, just because they're legal doesn't make them right. I think it's just disgusting that she would even bring that up. I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. So many things have been legal over the years and has not made them right. And thank God people stood up to get them to be illegal when they should have been, given everyone the right, every single person, no matter what color, race, religion, whatever, that they have equal representation and are looked at equally. And sadly, it still isn't happening. And like I say, I'm just disgusted with what that lady said. Thank you.
Leslie. Anybody else? That's it. Okay, meeting adjourned.